Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. And this is my weekly show where my guest and I play some movie roulette, pick a random film from my obscenely large watch list, and you never know what we're going to get. And we certainly got something here. And joining me is Chris Roberts. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. All we hear from Movie Smash. We like to see movies outside. We normally see comic book movies, so this is always a refresher coming on your show.
Absolutely. And this certainly is not a comic book movie for sure. And it is based off of something, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But yes, Chris, you are now a pretty frequent collaborator here on the show and always appreciate our conversations. And here we're going to be talking about Toby Dammit. And this is a film directed by Federico Fellini. This was part of a trilogy of films that released together called Spirits of the Dead. And this is also known as Tales of Mystery and Imagination, or just Tales of Mystery. It's a anthology horror film from directors Roger Van Louis Malle, and Federico Fellini. They're all based off of different Edgar Allan Poe stories. And this particular one is based off of Poe's Never Bet the Devil Your Head, which makes a lot of sense when you actually watch what winds up happening. So, quite literally. But some other little notes. This was released in Paris in June 1968, and then later in September in Italy. And I knew immediately the music sounded familiar to me, and that's because it's from composer Nino Rota, who did The Godfather.
Oh,
And I could definitely tell, I'm like, wait a minute. And there's definitely some bits of the music there. And when they released this all as like a collection in the United States, Vincent Price did narration for the whole thing, which was interesting. Vincent Price can narrate anything, and I would listen to it. So basically, there
he
you
can
go.
narrate my afternoon.
There you go. It would be a much more interesting afternoon with him just talking about it. So, but this particular story, so during a trip to Rome, a debauched Shakespearean actor is tormented by the Italian film industry, fans, the press, and the devil, who appears as a little girl seeking to collect his head. So it's quite the interesting little synopsis here. This is indeed directed by Federico Fellini and starring Terrence Stamp,
A
which
very
was
young
interesting.
Terrence Stamp.
Yes, very young. Who actually this is oddly timely, but who recently just passed away in August. So this is pouring out for Terrence Stamp. But this was indeed an early film for him. But Chris, what were your general thoughts on Toby Dammit?
I don't know. Seeing General Zod as an actor in Italy threw
Yeah,
me off a little bit.
just a
Also,
little bit.
I actually watching. I didn't realize it was Terrence Stamp while watching it because he looks
Hmm.
so different at
Hmm.
this time. I mean, he passed away. You know, God rest his soul. But time did not do well to this man in his early life. But like he really aged. You know, I wouldn't say terribly. I love the things he's been in, but he did not
Yeah.
look like Terrence Stamp at all during this. Of course, there
Mm-mm.
was also a lot of makeup that was in this, but my
Little
initial
ghoulish.
little ghoulish.
Little ghoulish.
He looked like a disheveled Beetlejuice.
I can see that. Yeah.
I, Watching this, okay, I went in this blind. I
Yep.
try not to. From when I'm on your show, that the movies that we have done together have always just been so out of left field for me.
Mhm.
I don't want to spoil it. I want to go in
Yeah.
blind. And I did that with this. I had no idea if it was a horror movie, a dark comedy, was it an art piece? I had no idea. So I started watching this and I'm like, is this like an art film? It really felt like an art film. Like the
Yeah.
sky is red when they're landing in the airport. They're like characters on the main drag when they're in their car, and he keeps asking for his Ferrari. I was like, is this me like a materialism kind of thing? Like, what is going on here? Like, I did no research before watching this. And then as it goes on, I'm like, I'm kind of confused. I mean, I'm
Yep.
following it, but it's like, what is going on? Like, is this like some death cult that has attracted this American actor to, and they're gonna no, there's a bunch of Satanists are gonna kill him or something? Like, where is this thing going?
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, until the very end of the movie, I was still second guessing everything that was happening. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's just a commentary on going crazy, because that is how I feel after watching this
Mm,
movie.
absolutely. And it's interesting because one, this is a Fellini film, so like this is that Italian neo-realism where it's like everything is very art house in a Fellini flick. I don't know if you have any experience with some of his films, but like Eight and a Half's probably like the most famous.
Yeah.
And that's like even after watching it, you're kind of like, I don't even know what just happened. But it's very much that kind of feel. So when I saw that Fellini made this, I'm like, I'm half expecting this to be a very weird art house film. And it was for sure.
Yeah. You got
And
what you expected.
yep, you get dropped into this situation. And basically, this actor is dropped in this situation. He's like, I'm taking this like spaghetti western, the Shakespearean actor who's like selling out to go to Italy to do this film. And you do get that vibe of like, he's somebody who, you know, is run down. He's getting this money. He wants this Ferrari. Really isn't like a project that like a Shakespearean actor would be taking, going off to Italy and doing a spaghetti western like Clint Eastwood or something. And you have him going through all of these different, like him engaging with film people, him engaging with fans, the press, and all these awkward interactions. And it feels like I'm imagining the Edgar Allan Poe story had nothing to do with the film industry, obviously, because timing wise, that wasn't a thing. But I find it interesting that it certainly feels like a Poe story by the end, with like the whole devil element and, coming for his head, which that was pretty shocking and disturbing. But I find it very interesting that Fellini made it very much like he's very makes a lot of made a lot of films about film
Yeah.
and filmmaking. And like Eight and a Half is this strange art house autobiography of him dealing with his writer's block and stuff like that. And this feels like, that feeling of being in the film industry and just having to deal with it all. Like, I have to deal with the film people. I have to deal with the people being obsessed about my projects. I have to deal with people questioning me on air. And you just have this feeling that like he's slowly just losing his mind from the grind of everything. And then he loses his head too on top of it. So like that's just like the cap on top.
Yeah, I think you said it pretty well. He's a washed up actor
Yep.
who, what was he, hasn't had a gig for a year, and
Mhm.
it's because he got fired because the director thought he was a drunk, which he is, and he admits that on stage, surprisingly enough. And also, for those who have not seen the film, the American actor, I think he's American or maybe British. His teeth look like he's British, but no, for what I know, he was American. Anyway, he is speaking English, but everyone else speaks in Italian, which is
Yep.
also quite disturbing. Like
Mhm.
it's not disturbing as like, oh, this is crazy, how nutty. It gives you this sense of like just something doesn't feel right,
Mhm.
because he speaks in English, all the subtitles are in English because they're speaking Italian, and yet he understands what they're saying and they understand him. Except there's one actress who speaks both,
Mhm.
which is doesn't surprise. That doesn't like he isn't shocked by that, because we don't. It's so surreal.
Yep.
And he there, like I said, I was so confused in this movie. It says like I was trying to guess all the directions. Another thing just reminded me of it was like we kind of mentioned he looked like Beetlejuice. Like he's pale. They put enough like powder on his face that he looks
Yeah.
sheep white. And he even says that I am not out in the sun that much. I don't want to be on
Mhm.
camera. I don't like getting my picture taken or something. I forgot what it was, but because he's never out in the sun, right? So I'm like, oh, he's a vampire. Like
Yeah.
that's where we're going with this thing. No, he's not a vampire. Of course, if I had known it was an Edgar Allan Poe, story that this is based off, I probably would have most of those ideas would probably have not even crossed my mind.
Mhm.
But as I said, I did zero research before watching it. Did research after the fact, but not
Mhm.
before watching it. I think that the point of the movie really is, I believe, just to give you that sense of something is wrong, and we
Mhm.
don't know what that wrong thing is. Like, is this a secret satanic cult that's going to kill him? Is there something wrong with him? He's a vampire.
Mhm.
Is he being lured by this other group? And of course, there's that whole him inappropriately hitting on that teenage girl, but he's disturbed by, like, you can see he is just mentally disturbed by what's happening around him, and where
Mhm.
he's in all the directions he's being pulled. And all of a sudden, then all he wants is a Ferrari. We don't know why he wants a Ferrari. I don't know how he's going to get back to the States, but He wants a Ferrari. And when he finally gets that Ferrari, he goes even crazier. Like just the way he drives, it does that sort of
Yeah.
classic 60s and 70s. I'm driving fast, which is going to speed the film up.
Mhm.
POV from the front of the car. And it's kind of like his falling into madness that he gets lost in the Italian countryside and can't find his way back to Roma because he's just going crazy with the thing he always wanted. Now he's even losing that.
It's very interesting too because once the film shifted into that last moment, because like up to this point, he's just surrounded by people being harassed in all these different ways. And he finally gets like, I just want this fast car so I could get the hell out of here. And then he just like lashing out. And I thought it was extremely thrilling once we got to that part because the way that Fellini shot this film was so intense and the car sequence towards the end. And then it really started getting like haunting and abstract with like its visuals and it is like this descent into madness, descent into hell. And then he completely loses all sense for himself and loses his head. And there's a lot of ways of thinking like this, that metaphor of him literally getting his head chopped off and like where he's like driving out into that space and then you get that cut of that wire and you're like, oh no. And just that disturbing imagery of little girl the devil with this chopped off head and you're just like well he did it, he lost it. And it's like we were watching him lose it the whole entire film and just being driven mad by all of this. And I don't know if this was some channel for like Fellini to just lash out on like all the frustrations he might have had with like the industry and the fame and all of this stuff and how he's feeling like I'm just going to completely lose it and at one point I'm going to snap. Hopefully he wouldn't have snapped behind the wheel of a Ferrari and
Yeah.
just started like driving wildly through the countryside. But it's very interesting because I feel like you can boil it down to something so simple like that, but the presentation certainly is not that. It is not simple. It is complex, it's strange, it's unnerving. I think Fellini really captured the sense of unease throughout this film. And I think it's to the point, Chris, with your perspective, like this had so much tension where you're just like, what should I be expecting? Like, is something like this really bad going to happen or this really bad going to happen? And, he has those visions of the devil, this little girl with the ball, and those things keep haunting him until he completely loses and succumbs to it in the end. I think Terrence Stamp did a great job of just being this just presenting this character as so disconnected and that transition from just being so done with everything to just becoming completely unhinged by the time these 45 minutes are up. And I'm sure it was probably a fun performance for him to be able to do because he certainly got to lash out for sure towards the end. But like I would certainly have to watch this again to just like fully try to process through. But I guess those are some of the things that like stood out to me, what this was trying to say. And it's certainly a creative film. This isn't going to be one where I'm like, hey, it's Halloween, everybody. You should go check out Toby Dammit. No, it's like my cinephile friends. You want to see something interesting that might make you think about some things? Go check this out. And that's why it's on the Criterion channel.
Yeah.
So there
And
you
you,
go.
you mentioned it was 45 minutes long. And I think it's important to bring up because, yet again, the movies you and I have watched together have
Mm,
ranged in length, considerably.
yeah.
And I went in, yeah, like I said, blind. I went in blind to how long the movie was.
Mhm.
So after he leaves the whole art scene, all the
Yeah.
actors, I mean, goes in the country, and I'm like, okay. And then he meets some guy out there who like he's asking where the direction of Roma, and he's like gives him a weird side eye, like, oh, now he finds the cult. Yet again, it keeps going, and I'm like, now this is gonna happen. Now I had to just get that out there because as you were saying it reminded me about that I thought this was like a 90-minute movie, right?
Mhm.
It is incredibly short. Now,
Yeah.
not as short as some of the things we've watched, but it is incredibly
Mm,
short for what I would consider a Criterion film. And but I don't think it wastes any time. Like
mm,
it get like I don't think it needs more of what it did. It got its point across. There's not much else to say, because I think the story really is he's aloof, he's disconnected, And because he's disconnected from everything around him, he's putting no heart into it, that he just separates himself from mankind. And that's when he starts going crazy. And
Yep.
that's when he just literally is raging out and just wants to get away from this scenario and throws all caution to the wind. And it's not that the devil kills him. The devil just comes there to collect him
Yep.
because it was his own arrogance, his own haphazardness that's what
Mhm.
killed him. And that,
Yeah.
like I said, the devil shows up with her little ball, and
Mhm.
then she collects him, and then she leaves. Like there's nothing else to it.
It felt like that kind of idea of like chasing finality and chasing this reckless behavior. And like I know some people who like before he had kids, my brother was like, I don't want to grow old. I want to make the most out of my younger years. Now he's singing a different tune now that he has kids.
Oh yeah,
But like that kind of like I'm gonna live my life hard and fast, and when it comes, and that's the life that this character wound up like going headlong into. See, I didn't even mean to make that pun. Headlong
but
into,
bum.
and then yep, bum, gone. But it's one of those kinds of things where it's like it felt like he was pushing himself to this place. And the devil's more than happy to collect you after all your recklessness and all of your debauchery. And that's the thing, because like this is certainly a cautionary tale. This is not a great dude. He's obviously like we've gathered that he's done some stuff before he got here.
Yeah,
And then now is just ready to just completely go off. And I think a good point that you brought up, Chris, is how efficient this specifically is because it's like we get him on the plane, we understand him coming in here and who he is as a character. And then we get the little bit of the press, the film people, the fans. That's what this is commentating on. You have those sections, we have him experiencing those things. He's fed up, he's done, he disconnects, and then you have the third act of him going off and completely just disconnecting from everybody, disconnecting from his senses and any sense of reason or danger, and just going into it. And it costs him. And it's a really interesting thing, like pulling back all those details.
yeah, and I think I want to circle back to what I had said before about the collecting of it. As we were talking this, it kind of occurred to me that this is often when we see the devil portrayed in movies, it's the devil's there to collect a deal they made with you,
Mhm.
or they're being summoned to cause havoc and destruction. And in this movie, that's not what the devil is doing at all. Like the devil is just there to sort of not even mitigate justice. It's just sort of like it's more like death than it is the devil, if that makes any sense. Like the Grim
Yeah.
Reaper,
Mhm.
who's there to
Yep.
collect the dead person, take them to the next level. And I think in this, the devil is really they take you to hell, which is kind of illustrated a little bit like he had his sins in America and in his film history or whatever it was. We never know what those things are. Just that involved debauchery
Yep.
and he's an alcoholic and is heathenistic. And that's all we really know because the press asks him some questions and make jokes about it. But that's really about it. And he makes jokes about it. And he is, he keeps that attitude as he's going along. He's talking to everybody. But when he lands in Italy, it is the only time we see that much color in the sky. It is like an
Yeah.
orange red. It is like entering hell, right?
Hmm.
And like I said, and you go there, and as you're entering hell, you see a bunch of crazy people, including the person who, like, his fortune teller, who says, "Whoa, I'm not telling you your fortune." Like she read his palm, is like, "I cannot tell you what that says,"
Bye.
because yeah, exactly. Sort of like we've entered this otherworldly place, which, like I said, could be a descent into hell. We don't know, and I guess maybe some people think Italy is a descent into hell. I have no
It's like,
idea.
welcome to Italy.
Welcome to Italy. Yeah, exactly. Though I love to say it was a TWA flight, really dating this movie. And then from there, like it's all the wackiness and crazy. I don't want to say whack. Whack's not a good word for it. It's just craziness
Yeah.
that starts happening. Kind of like, so I think it's more like he has, when he arrives in Italy, he has arrived in hell. He just doesn't know it yet. And then now, as his life has to end, end
Mhm.
by his own means and by his own actions or inactions, and then the devil will collect her prize.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think it's one of those types of things where there are certain people out there that enjoy being able to see art done in this way where it's creative, it's abstract, it makes you think about it. This is not your straightforward kind of like it's Halloween, time to watch a slasher that's dumb and like just having some fun with it. I had some fun with this because I thought it was very interesting in terms of how this was put together and Terrence Stamp's performance and stuff like that. I I'm actually interested now in checking out the two other films that were attached with this as a whole, but I think this is only my second Fellini. Like I've seen eight and a half, and then I've seen this. Um, and it's one of those types of things where I'm like, if Fellini's that type of directive, like if you want to be challenged a little bit, you want to see what people can do. It kind of reminds me of David Lynch a little bit. Like you don't just casually go into a David Lynch film.
Yeah, unless it's
It's not
Dune.
unless it's too and like or I guess what was the Straight Story, which is like his most accessible project.
Yeah.
Like you don't just drop into Twin Peaks and just hope for a fun TV show. Like you're going to be in for something interesting and bold and ambitious and something that you're not quite sure how to make of it. And then those are the moments of being able to talk it out. Like I'm becoming to appreciate this film more just talking this out with you. And I think it's that kind of film.
Yeah, so I mentioned the movie is not 90 minutes, which you're expecting. So I think you need to sit down and watch it for its 45-minute runtime and then talk to somebody for about 45 minutes to figure out if you liked it or not and to figure out what did I just experience?
hmm Which that's funny because I'll share. It's like, what did I just watch? It's like well, we're gonna talk about it, and I feel like we have like a pretty good idea of like what it's going for. It just it's presented in an interesting and more abstract kind of way for sure.
Well, Edgar Allan Poe stories. I used to love Edgar Allan Poe when I was a kid. You know, when I was
Mhm.
an edgy emo kid back in the
Yeah.
mid '80s and late '80s, early '90s. And you know, Edgar Allan Poe was always about madness. It's all it was ever about. You know that, which
Mhm.
eventually you like Edgar Allan Poe, you start like H.P. Lovecraft. You know, it's all about going crazy. Can't you know? So that's what I think. If that's what he's going for, is showing madness. He did show madness, and the problem is, I
Yep.
think it's sort of like H.P. Lovecraft things, where you know the loss of sanity spreads. I feel a
Mhm.
little less sane now after watching that too, because you're trying to like understand it while you're watching it instead of like this is a movie I think you need to sit down and just let it wash over you
Yep.
versus trying to analyze it while you're watching it because I tried analyzing it while I'm watching it because we've got the show we got to talk about it so I want to like
Yeah.
remember pieces instead of but the way this feels it should really be a sit there experience it and then talk to somebody about it to like just spill your thoughts about it not like discuss the best just trying to wrap your mind around it because yeah I don't so I think he achieved the goal, which
Yeah.
was make you feel as crazy as this guy, Toby Dammit. What a
Toby.
crazy last name.
That just sounds like some edgy kind of guy from like the 60s who's like, I want to be cool, and this is my name. It's Toby, damn it.
Actually, I think
Um,
it's more like he's trying. He has you know, getting the Actors Screen Guild. You have to have a unique name. He's like his real last name is taking Toby Maguire is taken at this point. So he's like, damn it, I don't know what to go for. He goes, Toby, damn it, that's your name, I guess.
my name is Tom Johnson. My name now is Toby, damn it.
Exactly, exactly. He's stuck with it. It's kind of
There
like
you
I
go.
actually watched it completely different kind of
Yeah.
idiocracy last night. And
Mhm.
they say, what is your name? And he goes, what was his name in that movie? It was like, not sure. Same sort of thing. Like, he's like, damn it. That becomes his real name.
There you go. Oh,
Yeah, you didn't think
idiocracy.
I could connect this to idiocracy, did you?
There you go. We'll Idiocracy will not be covered on the Wasteland watch list, as I have watched that plenty of times up to this point, but is something I would certainly want to talk to people about that feels even more relevant as the days go by.
It
Um,
weirdly
it
does.
weirdly does. But I guess, Chris, do you have any other thoughts on Toby Dammit before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's really about it. The biggest thing, like I said, for people is like my recommendation is not is this good or bad. I'm not going to rate it. My recommendation is if you're going to watch it, just
Mhm.
watch it, experience it, and maybe watching by yourself is fine, but then have someone you can talk to and just try to explain not what happened in the movie, but what the movie is about. And then I think by the end of that explanation, you will like the movie better than when you first experienced. Because I know that's me. After us talking about it, I enjoyed it more. But when we first got on to start talking about this, I was like, I did not enjoy that movie.
Well, and I am very much a math kind of person, math brained. Like when like I try to avoid analyzing art with like an equation and stuff like that. It's so funny when I first started actually reviewing stuff, I had a Facebook page and it was like I had like 10 categories. I had point values for each of the categories and then came up with
Mm,
a number because math. And then after a while, I'm like, I don't even like rating films at this point. Like I only put stars on there on Letterboxd and stuff like that. I don't put a rating at the end of my reviews on my YouTube channel. It's about the film. And so connecting back to like similar to David Lynch, you're not going to go into a Federico Fellini film and just be like, does this check all the boxes? I'm like, there's no boxes here.
no.
There's circles and they all fuse together. What are you watching? I don't know. And the thing is, like, if you find something that connects with you and speaks to you during the experience, that's what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
And this being a short film, part of an anthology, based off of this short story that has a very specific kind of moral angle that it's going for, this idea. And that's what Poe did in a lot of his writings and stuff like that. And I think Fellini did a really good job of capturing that essence and then putting his experience with like the Italian film industry into that, which was interesting. But this indeed was an interesting film.
It
And if you do
was.
have the Criterion channel, go check it out. It's sitting there. And I guess if you wanted to expand a little bit more, you could check out the actual full anthology film. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on and chatting some movies with me.
Not a pleasure to be here as always.
And thank all of you for listening. Make sure to comment, and share on this episode. What are some of your favorite Edgar Allan Poe adaptations? I've been watching a few Roger Corman, Vincent Price films from like the 50s and 60s where there were some adaptations. I just watched Fall the House of Usher. That
Mm.
was an interesting one for sure. And make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. The SPDM Crew Podcasting Network is ever expanding. We have a whole bunch of shows. I think last time I heard Mike say we have like 19 shows on here. And
Wow.
there's a range of different types of themes and stuff. So I'm sure you'll find something you're interested in, especially movies. We do a lot of that. And if you want to join the crew, and whether as a guest on one of these shows like this one, always like having some people who play some movie roulette with me, or if you want to start your own podcast, reach out to us on our website. And if you like our logo, check out High Flyer Creative for all your digital marketing needs. But most importantly, thank you as always for tuning in and supporting the Wasteland Watchlist here on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.